All right. Well, welcome everybody. This afternoon, we are excited to have, as the Office of Campus Student Family Engagement, the webinar related to moving in, everything you need to know about housing and residential life. So we'll be starting shortly. We're having friends join us on Facebook and also here on Zoom. Remember, at the end of the webinar, you will be able to ask and submit your questions. You can do so at any time, but we will address the questions at the end of the session. You can go to the Q&A button and submit your question, and they will be answered live. So we'll take a few more minutes just to make sure everybody's gotten enough time to jump on, either here on Zoom or Facebook. So welcome, everybody. We're glad to see there's a lot of you joining us today. And thank you, Dennis Scott, for joining us as well. So take a few minutes. We'll start in about 30 seconds once we get everybody jumped who's back here, and we will be ready. So let's check everybody. And while I check on everything, I'm seeing some of you log in here. I also need to check on Facebook. So if you see my face being turned sideways, it's because I'm also looking at Facebook. So let me know. I am glad to see a lot of you jumping on here on the Facebook. And let me check. So just a few more minutes to see everybody. Thank you for submitting your questions. Awesome. We have enough. We're getting questions already, which is wonderful. And then we will have an opportunity to answer them at the end of our session. Let me just check on Facebook, make sure everybody's able to join us. And we are there. So thank you very much for joining us today. Awesome. So Dennis, if you're ready, the floor is all yours. Again, today we welcome Dennis Scott, Assistant Director of University Housing. So thank you for putting in your questions. Remember, we'll address those at the end. And thank you, Dennis, for being here. It's all yours.
Sure. Thanks, Carmen. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dennis Scott. And I serve as the Assistant Director of Residence Life here at UAB. And so I'm excited to chat with you virtually and meet you virtually regarding student housing and residence life and information as we get ready for move-in and all the things in preparation for your students to arrive to campus. And so I'm using dual screen, so I'm going to try to remember to continue to look at the camera. So I apologize if I veer off because I also have the presentation set up as well. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. So hopefully everyone is familiar that there is a live-on requirement here on campus. So all incoming first-year students are required to live on campus. And so there are some exceptions and exemptions that can be made based upon individual students' circumstances. So if a student is in active military and or they are married, for example, then they can submit documentation to be reviewed and then be exempt from moving, from living on campus. And so there's a few committee folks within the department that review those submissions, and then they will render a decision. Keep in mind that just because a student submits a exemption form does not mean that they are automatically approved. There is an approval process. So just keep that in mind if this is something that is applicable to your students. So My Housing is our platform where all of our students do all of their housing assignments, billing. They can review information from billing and or paying for their housing application fee through the My Housing portal. And it's a very intuitive system and platform where students can go in and take care of a lot of the administrative things, specifically in student housing and residence life. Also, they can do roommate preferences and matching. It'll ask questions like, do you like to stay up at night? Do you like to go to bed early? Do you like a room clean? And all of those things to get, as best we can, get a snapshot of how students prefer to be matched with someone. So all incoming first-year students will be staying in one of the 3 residence halls, that being Blazer, Gold, and McMahon. Keep in mind that if your student is a part of the honors program, we do not have a honors residence hall. And so keeping that in mind, that we sprinkle the love with all of our honors students on individual floors within the building. So for example, the honors floors in Blazer may be 3 through 6, and in Gold, it may be 2 through 7, and McMahon may be floors 2 through 5. So it's going to depend on what specific floors, but just keeping in mind that there's honors floors, there's not an honors residence hall. So this is a kind of sample room layout. And so as you can see, I'll kind of point your attention to Blazer here in a little bit, but this just gives you a snapshot of kind of how the layout of the rooms are structured. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to Blazer. In some of the rooms or suites, I would say, they have a shared common area. So they share a living room within Blazer Hall, whereas Gold and McMahon, they are traditional style residence halls. So a person is on the left side, side A, and then a person's on the right side, side B. And so there is they share a bathroom and has a sink, and it also has a micro fridge combo that's already in the room. Whereas Blazer has a full-size refrigerator in their respective suites. And so that's the only difference. Students are permitted to bring additional appliances. If they wanted to bring an additional mini fridge, that's totally fine. If they wanted to bring an extra microwave, that is fine as well. But know that in Gold and McMahon, the micro fridge combo is already in there, whereas Blazer, it has the full size refrigerator and freezer. And so what we have next is talking about what's in my room. And so we call it the bare necessities. And so these are the things that we say that, you know, these are the things that students just need to kind of get by. And so we always remind students that your room is small for a reason, so that way you don't stay in there. Get out, talk to people, and make connections here on campus. And so as you can see, we have a desk, we have a dresser, we have closet space, and we also have a twin size bed. For the twin size beds, you will need to make a note that that will need to be twin extra long. You're going to want some of that slack towards the end. So as you're going shopping and buying bedding, keep in mind you will need that twin extra long for bedding purposes. As far as closet space, we encourage students to think about not trying to literally bring everything from home to campus, because it will be a little challenging trying to do the cha-cha slide when your roommate is doing the same thing. So being mindful of everything that you're bringing, so that way you have ample space in the room. Also keep in mind that everything that comes in the room stays in the room. And so there will be RAs roving around and making sure everything is going well. And we ask that our parents and family members not bribe them and ask them to mysteriously get rid of things. But everything that comes in a room must stay in the room from the time they check in until the time that they check out. Something to get excited for is that we have free laundry. You can virtually clap for free laundry. And so that's really exciting that we have that here on campus. And it's free because you've already paid for it. And so the way that it works is $1 to wash, $1 to dry for a cycle. And so in essence, we give students $6 to do laundry. So that's $1 to wash, $1 to dry. Students, it's not, someone's clapping, awesome. It is not real money. So students cannot hoard this and kind of check out at the end of the year. If they don't use that $6, that $6 stays right there. And students also are notified that it is not real money. So you can't go out to CVS or Circle K in any off-campus establishment and use this money. And so it's only used for dining, not dining, only used for laundry. And every residence hall has a laundry facility, either in the lobby of the building, on the first floor, or in the basement. And so every building is equipped for laundry in the residence hall. This is an insert from our move-in guide. And so this list is not exhaustive of things to bring, but it's just a helpful list as you begin for your arrival here in Birmingham at UAB. And so again, this is information that is already on our website. uab.edu/housing. There's information about move-in, and just basic information. But this is just taken from that move-in guide. Also, I'm going to also mention a few things that you should not bring. So some of those items are toasters, toaster ovens, incense, George Foreman grills. Those are not approved appliances. What is approved are things such as a microwave. Students are able to have a crock pot, and students are also able to have a air fryer. So those are approved appliances. And something to note is I wish I could give you a exhaustive list of things, but by the time I try to create the list is outdated because QVC, Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond have dropped new appliances, and that list is now outdated. We do conduct health and safety inspections unannounced to make sure that students are aware of the policies and procedures, so that way they're not blowing the circuit out in their residence hall room. But again, these are just some of the things to kind of keep in mind, what you should and should not bring to campus. So before you arrive, we are encouraging students to make sure that they kind of pick up their one card. There'll be opportunities for them to do that. They'll take their picture. And so that one card is their kind of golden ticket to get in on campus. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. For as far as ResNet, we have internet services provided in the residence halls for students to be able to log in and up to have 7 devices on their account. And so that's a separate thing that students will receive a little bit before they arrive to campus, because we know students are coming to us with a lot of gadgets and gizmos and other appliances for gaming and streaming Netflix and Hulu. So we do have those capabilities, and they'll receive information closer to time. Unfortunately, I am not the parking representative, but there is a beautiful website, uab.edu/parking. And so there's information about students that wish to have a car on campus. We work with them to make sure that they are parking in a designated lot or garage in close proximity to the residence halls. And so again, that is uab.edu/parking, and students go through that process and pay for those decals to ensure they're parking in the right space. Contacting their roommate is important. So we also know that sometimes students want to room and live with their best friend from high school, which is exciting and all the warm, fuzzy things. But we also know sometimes living with your best friend may not be the best option. And so we encourage students that don't know who they want to live with to try living with someone that they don't know. Because we say that the perfect roommate in essence doesn't really exist, because you're not having conversations about, can I touch the soy milk? Can I not touch the soy milk? Can I wear your favorite t-shirt out and about to class? Can I not? And so we have a lot of those conversations to make sure that they are able to engage in civil discourse and having those disagreements, especially about the air conditioning, right? Because allegedly there's a difference between 69 degrees and 70. And so we're having those developmental conversations to make sure that they are set up for success, and there'll be conversations that the RAs will be having during the first couple of weeks of classes. So I know everyone is excited for move-in day. So move-in day, or move-in weeks, if you will, is vastly approaching. And so if you are affiliated with honors, the band, student athlete, sorority recruitment, or any of those auxiliary groups, you may be moving in a little bit earlier versus those that are not. So those that are not affiliated with a group, organization, or program, your time that you'll be moving in will be around August 16th through the 20th. And so you'll be able to receive information regarding signing up for a time for move-in. And so in case you all were wondering, the move-in sign-up slot email is slated to go out on August 7th. So again, information on how to sign up for a time will be sent to students' UAB email account around August 7th. No communication has been sent out as of now, but continue to check your email for additional details. And that's where students can go in and sign up for a time to move in, and that's their time to move in here on campus. We have academic learning communities, and so we know that students that live on campus have higher GPAs than those that don't. We also know that those students that live on campus and also are connected to an academic major and program, and those that have a similar interest, also have higher GPAs. And so if this is something that you and your student are interested in, we encourage you to check out uab.edu/housing. And there's more information about our living and learning communities as an option for them to reside in a residence hall that may be of interest to them regarding specific major and interests. So when we talk a lot about safety, I always want to remind folks that we do not have a curfew on campus. We do not have a curfew on campus. So students are free to move about and do whatever their heart desires, as long as it's ethical and legal. And so one of the things that we do is, if you see in the second circular picture, we have housing precinct officers. And so those officers are roving around the residence halls, building connections and having conversations with students. However, while they may have fancy Under Armour polos and they may have cool t-shirts, they are sworn officers. And if a student is found in violation of the law, they can and or will arrest for holding a student accountable for the decisions and the choices that they have made. And so we also want to make sure that, students are being mindful of their interactions with people and others and doing things that they would not have to have a potential interaction with the officer. On the flip side, because we have housing precinct officers and they're assigned to each residence hall, it is normal to see them around the residence halls, getting to know students, having conversations. So that way, if they are in a situation where they need assistance, they've already somewhat built a rapport with having those conversations with them. So that's something that I definitely wanted to highlight. As far as safety from the residence hall perspective, and so we have our front desk are operated by a staff member 24/7, 365. And so every student on campus will have a ID card that allows them to get into athletic events, dining facilities, campus recreation, and the residence hall. So what's going to happen is students will put their their ID card up into a proxy reader, and then the doors are going to open. And there's going to be a staff member at the front desk greeting you, asking you, hey, how are you? Are you visiting someone? Do you live in the building? And they're looking specifically for a sticker that corresponds to the building. And so each building has a specific color-coded sticker that they will have on their ID card when they arrive on campus. And they're just looking to make sure that if I stay in Gold Hall, I have the sticker that corresponds to that building. If the student does not have the sticker that corresponds to the building, then they're asking specific questions. And that's not them being rude, but there's a whole check-in and check-out process for overnight guests and when you want to visit friends, which students will receive a little bit closer to when they arrive on campus. And then the final step is we have keys. So in Blazer, you're going to have 2 keys, one to the front door and then one to your bedroom door. Whereas Gold and McMahon, there's only 1 key. So from the front door to the pillow, we've got the measures of security to make sure students are safe and secure in their living environment. But we also need students to do their part in not propping their doors and visiting their friend down the hallway because they want to see the latest TikTok trend. So again, every student will have a key. They need to lock their door when they leave their room to make sure that no valuables get lost. I also want to state that if in the event something gets lost and or stolen in the residence hall, we will work with that student to make sure that we can file a police report and assisting them with that. The first question that they're going to ask is, did you lock your door? If the answer is no, it's going to be a little challenging to figure out what specifically happened in the space, as there are no cameras on the hallways of the floors. And so I really don't want to know what students are doing in the wee hours of the morning, but also it is an invasion of privacy. And so we do have cameras that are installed at the front desk, in the lobbies, and in elevators, but not on the individual floors. So we will work with them to figure out kind of how we can support them and work through that, working with UAB PD. As far as support, so we have several layers of support. So we have our residence life coordinators that are full-time staff. So they live in the building, they oversee the RAs and supervise them. It's kind of serve as building managers. The the residence life assistants, RAs, are the ones that are specifically trained to handle anything from I don't know where the Hill Student Center is, all the way to I don't know where my first class is. And so they're there to kind of help navigate and get students kind of moving about on campus. We have our peer wellness ambassadors, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then we have learning community mentors that are there to really make sure students are utilizing the academic tools and resources on campus. As far as involvement, there are over 300 clubs and organizations on campus. And so your student will be able to kind of figure out if they want to get into gaming or if they want to do a racquetball club or whatever the case may be. There is definitely a home and a place and a space for them on campus. And so there'll be more conversations about getting involved on campus to make sure that they are connected and plugged in to kind of take a break from classes. And then finally, there's academics. So we know that our students are really excited about classes. They are really, really eager to take in all of that information. And so we also tell parents and students and family members that we get early alerts from faculty members for students that maybe aren't going to class or the professor is concerned for work quality, and we outreach to them. And so we say, hey, Professor Smith said that, you haven't been showing up for class, and we just want to follow up to have a conversation, kind of see what's going on. 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, students will kind of brush that email off because some students, elect to think that what worked in high school is going to work in college. And we know that that's not actually kind of how that works. And so we encourage students to respond to the email, have a conversation, so that way we can help them navigate with the transition. And so I always use a classic example. If a student is not doing well in organic chemistry and they're at a D going into finals, and then we send out that final email regarding study tips and tricks and getting help from tutors, then they're like, oh my God, like I need tutoring and I need help right now. And in their mind, they think that they can go from a D to an A in 2 weeks, and mathematically that's not possible. And so we encourage parents, family members, and students to have the conversation to make sure that they are set up for success. Parents and family members, what you can do to help us out and help your student out is having that conversation about the academic rigors of college, normalizing asking for help, normalizing letting them know that at some point they may not do well on a test or an assignment or a paper. So that way we're beginning to build up that resiliency, because at some point they may not make that grade that they want, and that's okay. How do we teach and coach them on resiliency skills? On the flip side, students, we need you to make sure that you are being vulnerable and having conversation with your professors to make sure that you're going to their office hours, asking for help, so that way they can assist you with some of the things that you're struggling with here on campus. Our peer wellness ambassador program. So one of the things that we know is that our mental health numbers are not going down anytime soon. And so we are definitely aware of that and mindful of that. We have things going on the sense of test anxiety, depression, and other things that fall under the mental health umbrella. And so one of the things that we've done is taken a proactive approach, and we hire student staff to kind of help us be those ambassadors of wellness. And so as you can see, we have peer chats. So that's an opportunity where they can speak to someone regarding any challenge that they may be having on campus in a very confidential and welcoming environment. They can meet the student where they're at in a residence hall lobby, or we have spaces in a private secluded area. But we just want to make sure and normalize that asking for help is okay. And we're definitely here to support all of our students to make sure that they are taking care of themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and financially. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is normalize asking for help and normalize also making sure that they are asking for help when they maybe are not feeling their best. So that's information that they'll receive prior to move in as well. And then lastly, this is our kind of contact information. And so there's information should you want to outreach to us. If you have a question, you can follow us on social media. I will say that if you have outreach to our office, it is a busy time for us. And so we're going through a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and we're definitely trying to work through all of those methods of communication in a timely manner. But there are a lot of people asking questions and calling. So just know it may be a little delayed because it is a high peak time for us right now. We'll definitely want to make sure that we are responding in a timely manner, but it may take us a little bit longer than anticipated. So with that, I am done, Carmen. So I'm going to stop sharing and then we can answer.
We do have some questions. So thank you, Dennis. This is great information because a lot of the questions we've been getting have been addressed in what you have said. We do have a couple of questions now, and I'm also going to check on Facebook. So if you would like to submit any questions, this is a great time. The Q&A section is open, and so are the comment section on Facebook, and I'm monitoring both. So Dennis, there's a couple of questions. one says my child is part of the honors college, and you've said that, but when will they get their move-in time? They have not received any information yet.
Yes, so the program coordinator or director within the honors college should be outreaching to all of those students soon. I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I know honors is moving in around between the 13th or the 16th. That is very, very vague. I don't have it directly in front of me. But typically what the honors program or honors college does is they send a mass email to all of those applicable students, and then honors college, because there's so many, like 600, they have an assigned move in typically time frame that they do that. I don't have it directly in front of me, but the honors college should be outreaching to those students. And so we may want to give a call to the person's advisor. They should have information. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me.
No, that is great. And one very important fact right now is that as students are getting ready, they need to be checking their UAB email every day. Yes. So not their Gmail, Yahoo. Now everything is going through their UAB email. And so we've had some questions where the information has been sent, but so luckily it's there. So and if it's not, please reach out to us, or you have the contact information also for housing. And again, be very patient, because there's a lot of people trying to contact those offices. So we do have two questions that are kind of related. Where do parents park after moving out of the unloading zone? And can we bring our own hand truck?
Yes, so I'll answer the latter first. So yes, anything that you can bring to help expedite your move-in process is greatly appreciated. We will have dollies and dolly carts and kind of the big laundry bins, but obviously there's not going to be enough for everyone. And so anything that you can do to help expedite your process, we will ever be grateful for that. As far as parking, so there's going to be information that's also going to be sent out regarding parking and all of those things, because it's really going to depend on where your student is living based upon which parking deck and garage. But we will have several tents and volunteers navigating and telling you where to park, unload, and do all of those things. And so that will be sent out in the kind of preparing for move-in email that will be sent likely around August 7th.
All right, so awesome. So yes, and moving is moving. So it'll move, and you'll load your things on those things and take them to the residence hall, and then you get to go. And so emails will be going out for parking. I, as a former parent, went through the process, and let me tell you, it's smooth. There's plenty of people to help you out, and it's a great experience. You get to meet other people, and you get to see how well we can do things here at UAB. I have a question that says, what is the actual move-in process? Where do they get their keys? Where do parents park again? Where do they fill out? Do they fill out damage reports?
Right. So what happens is once, as Carmen alluded to, there's like a kind of well-oiled machine that'll get you through the move-in hopper, if you will. And so that's where, when they get up to the drop-off point, when they arrive near their residence hall, then they will drop their things off, get out of the car, and go check in. And when they check in, that's where they will be able to get their sticker for their ID card, and they will get their keys when they arrive. There'll be kind of like station set up. They'll get their keys, and then they're up to the races and kind of checking in and looking at things in their room. And so once they check in, we tell students that they have 48 hours to assess for damages. The staff have already done their preliminary one, but we also want to give you the opportunity to do that as well. And so they will get an email once they check in. It's kind of real time. And then they're going to go in and start assessing. If they forgot a small nick or a paint chip, they'll be able to go in and make those adjustments. And so that is all kind of automated once they kind of move through the process. And so I know that's a lot of information, but know that every step and station as they're going through move-in, they're going to go over the specific steps, just because I could speak for hours regarding that, but that'll all be kind of outlined and explained once they go through various stations in their respective residence hall.
And so we do have a questions that have to do with the measurements of the rooms. And so can my student visit the dorm and take measurements, et cetera, prior to the designated move-in time?
So unfortunately, that's not an option. If someone is local and they may want to come down during the orientations when they're doing tours, that would be permissible. We've tried our best to get the measurements on the website. And so if there is maybe a particular thing that they're wanting that's not on the website, we will try to get that information to you and or post it on our website regarding various measurements of various things. And so if you want to send us an email, studenthousing@uab.edu, we can kind of look at that. But I know we've tried to work with our facilities team to kind of put that information out there so that way everyone kind of has access to it. So you can just shoot us an email and we'll look into that.
Along those same lines, there's a question about what length are the tension rods needed for McMahon closets, and also what size headboard will fit the twin extra large bed.
Wow, so that's officially I'm stumped. I feel like a HGTV representative. I do not know. I'm actually looking on the website now. I am not sure about the rod measurements regarding McMahon off the top of my head. And so what I would suggest doing in the interim, as I'm looking online, is sending us an email and we can get that information to you. And then once we get it posted on the website, I'm looking online now to see if those measurements are up there. On the website, it shows that it has the closet dimension, the bed, the dresser, the desk, and the window. So that may be the information that you were specifically looking for. And so I will drop that in the chat. Or maybe Carmen can. I don't know if I have the privileges, but if you click on the residence hall on uab.edu/housing and click on residence halls, you'll see towards the right of the screen the dimensions of those various things. And so that information is available.
Yes, and if families, if you have any questions regarding some of these measurements and stuff, please feel free to email us also at families@uab.edu, and we can get a list of those measurements. And if you tell us your email, we'll be glad to email you back with the information. I know there's a lot of questions sometimes when it comes to measurements and making the room as comfortable and as homey as possible. And so we are here to help you find out that information. Yes, sir.
One small thing, there is to be no drilling of any power tools in the residence hall. So leave the tools at home. You cannot mount TVs. Typically folks get a TV stand or they use a dresser, but there's to be no drilling of halls. Additionally, in case you were wondering, students are able to use command strips. However, if you use them, you assume the responsibility if you nip the paint, because everyone claims to be an expert in removing them. So be mindful. If you're going to put the 3M command strips up, that's fine. Make sure you're reading the instructions on how to properly remove them at the end of the year, because it sometimes, if not done correctly, can leave a lot of gashing of paint chips that we then have to go back and do all of those things. So I just want to put that out there as well. Some folks use the silly tack for certain things that they want to kind of post in the residence halls. But again, you are permitted to have 3M command strips. Just you assume that responsibility if you rip the paint off.
Okay, that's a good thing to say, because we all claim that we can take those little things off and they appear to be very easy. But so no hammers, no drilling. Command strips, but practice at home before you bring them to the dorms. Yes. There's like another question, is at what point will the students be able to request that their bed get lifted?
So there's a lot, we use collegiate bed lofting. And so depending upon if that's something that student is interested in, we use collegiate bed lofting if they want to kind of loft it all the way up. And so they can literally put things under there if that's specifically what they want to do. That's a third-party company. There's information that's typically sent out, but the company, again, the name is Collegiate Bed Lofting. And so what happens is you pay the fee, they will set up the loft for you by the time you arrive, and then you leave it there, and then when you check out, they remove it at the end. So if that's something that is of interest to you, then that's something that we can, that's third party, but we work with them. But that's how we do that. We use professional staff so that way it's sturdy and no student staff or students or parents or family members are hurt in the act of setting up a bed.
Yes, and that actually addresses our next question. So I posted the name of Collegiate Bed Lofting, and so for the person who asked about who do we contact for to loft beds, the answer is now posted in the chat. Who do we have? Oh, we have to bring a shower curtain. So is the shower rod included? And that's a question we've had before.
Shower rods. Yeah, I've been in rooms all day. You think I would know that? I know the curtains are not, and I think the shower rods are already in the rooms. I will say that one of the things that I encourage parents and family members to also look at when they you can look at various video clips online regarding certain residence halls, and you'll see that. But my understanding that shower rods are already in the room. I'm going to chat with another colleague in our department, and I can hopefully get that confirmed before we get off. But my understanding is yes.
And if not, a quick run to Walmart never hurt anybody to get those ready. So another question is, how do we know which floor is designated as honors floors? My daughter is in honors and got gold 7th floor, but not sure if that was the designated honors floor.
I'm looking that up as well. Give me 1 second. I may have to come back to that too. That's buried in my email.
And that's, yeah, there's a lot of so there's a lot of information that's out there also on the website. So if you have a chance, family members, you want to go back and look at the website and get some information. One question that somebody else asked before about the closet in McMahon, somebody already went in and measured it, and so the answer is 36 inches wide. So I'll share that in somebody already did that for us. So awesome. I'm going to share that.
If you could type that in the chat, I will get that updated. So that way, that's one less thing that we can have.
I just put it in the chat.
We don't have to worry about.
Yeah. So there we go. Thank you for the person who actually. Will there be curtains on the windows? And that's a very good question.
There were, I mean, if a student wants to bring and do their own thing, they can, but they won't be provided in any of the first year residence halls. There are no curtains that kind of come in the room.
In the room. So if a student wants to place their own curtains, they can with the command strips, no hammering or drilling.
Yep.
And yeah, if you're like when my student went and bought curtains, make sure that if they decide to buy it together with the roommate, that they both measure the same. But no big deal, they can cut it. The other question that we have is, what was the email address again to pull up the information on the dorm rooms? Oh, I will put that on the chat again right now. But again, all of our email addresses here at UAB, our websites are very easy. It's uab.edu/housing, uab.edu/transportation, uab.edu/family. So I will put that on the chat right now again. And while I do that, there's another question. They told us we need an extra long shower curtain. Do you know how long it needs to be?
I'm not sure if that was advice from a former student or not. Normally when we say extra long, it's for the bedding. I've not heard extra long for shower curtain rods, things or whatever off the top of my head. That's a first. I know, for example, it's specifically for gold. Again, you think I would know this, but I've been running around with my head cut off. There are shower rods that are already in the rooms. And so the only thing that students will need to bring is their curtain, however fancy they want to make it. So those rods are already in there. And I'm still getting confirmation on honors floors.
And I just placed again the website uab.edu/housing. So you can go back and look at the information about the different residence halls. And then you can also go back and view this webinar It's going to be on Facebook, so you can see it as you start getting everything ready. And I saw some measurements on some of the slides that you had. So if families also want to go back at the beginning, there were a couple of slides. And we do have an answer about maybe 72-inch shower curtain, but it may still not be long enough. So extra shower curtain hooks can add 2 inches. So yay, thank you, families. This is why we're all here together. So if you buy a 72-inch shower curtain, but it's still not too long, again, another run to get extra hooks will make it come down a little bit lower. So this is families in the making right here, solving problems together. So
in Blazer, the honors floor is 6, and Gold it's 7 and 8, and McMahon is 6 and 7. So again, the honors floors in Blazer is the 6th floor. In Gold, it's 7 and 8, and then McMahon is 6 and 7.
I think I just put that in the chat, so I hope everybody can see it. So again, honors halls, Blazer 6th floor, Gold 7th and 8th, and McMahon 6 and 7. So if you had that question before, you I hope that answers your question. And let me check. I forgot our Facebook friends are there. Again, if you have any questions. Oh, okay. Yes. Are saves allowed or recommended? That's a question coming in through Facebook right now.
Yes, they are allowed, and that's also something that is, believe it or not, Collegiate Bed Lofting does that. We typically get maybe 2 students on campus that may elect to have a safe, but that is an option through Collegiate Bed Lofting. And so if they're interested in getting a safe, that is something that they can have on campus, and that's through Collegiate Bed Loft. And something that I also wanted to mention and is really important is renter's insurance. And so we encourage students and parents and family members to utilize their parent or guardian's homeowner's insurance and just have your student added. In the event that, God forbid, there's a tornado or some sort of inclement weather that sweeps across campus, right? You want to make sure that you're covered. Or you can go through a company called NSSI, and it's in the moving guide. There's a link that talks about that, but I want to make sure that everyone is aware and reminded to invest in renter's insurance. Unfortunately, I've been working in housing since 2008, and time after time, students get a little creative, and they'll put a shirt on that sprinkler, and then the sprinkler activates, and the sprinkler does what it's supposed to do, and it releases all of that gunk and water, and it takes out the whole building or floor or room. And so if I do that, I am financially responsible if my friend's stuff get damaged or whatever the case may be, right? Like, that's the system worked. And so just keeping in mind that it's built into the housing contract. If a student intentionally does that, the institution and the department is not liable for what is supposed to happen. So please make sure that you are investing in renter's insurance, so that way your students are covered in the event of a natural disaster, a flood in the building, fire, or again, we hope this doesn't happen, but you always want to have insurance and you always want to be covered. And so just making sure that that's part of your to-do list before coming to campus. So I just want to make sure that the renter's insurance piece got out there.
And that is a great point that you brought up, because we did have a family member ask that same question last week, and that was the exact same answer. But just you gave us a name. It's NNSI. Is that what you said for Renters Insurance Group?
We are very acronym heavy. Give me one second.
And of course, you can always talk to your own whoever insures your home, and sometimes there is something you can do there as well. So is there a minimum coverage that students should consider or families should consider? There's
not, because it's really depend. I'm like, I've worked, well, when like I don't have kids, so I don't have kids. So when I was a student, my parents, looked at my valuables and they made that determination based upon the items that I had, and when they worked with, it's called the National Student Services Incorporated, and I'm going to put it in the chat, Carmen, and you can post it out. And so it's on an individual basis, because everyone's situation is different, and they work with you to determine coverage for your student living in the residence hall. But so they're great. They have great representatives. And so again, whichever way you want to go, either your homeowner's insurance or through the National Student Services Incorporated, whichever way you go, just make sure you're covered and having those conversations.
That is a great, that is wonderful. Yes. So never hurts to have it. And so it's highly recommended, highly encouraged. So we do have another question. It says, what is the name of the Facebook group? I don't know if they mean, does housing have a specific Facebook group?
We don't have a Facebook group. I think I know what they're hinting at. So there are always unofficial Facebook groups that students create, that is separate from student housing and residence life. And so it's very common for students to create a UAB class of 2027 Facebook group that is operated by a gung-ho student. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Carmen, there is a family and parent services Facebook group where there's conversations that happen, but we in housing don't have a group. We have a page. We're not as kind of cool like everyone else, and we update as often. But I think if you're referring to the ones for students, there is one for students, and they can meet and connect as assignments are going out. They're like, oh my God, you're a few doors down from me, but there's not an official student housing residence life group on Facebook.
Okay, and on that note, we do have an official UAB Families Facebook page, and it's UAB Families. And you will see the picture of the green and a picture of 3 families and our logo that says we are Blazer Families. Again, there's another Facebook page, which is not the official one. So please join our Facebook page, UAB Families. And yes, our videos, all of the webinars we have had this summer, and this is webinar number 13, if not 15, are on Facebook. And so you can go back and look at webinars starting from technology and Tech Connect to financial aid, scholarships, fraternity, sorority live, student involvement. So all of the webinars are on Facebook. And if you go to our website, which again is very easy, uab.edu/families, under communications, you will see the 2023 webinars, and those webinars are being posted there with captions, and you can go back and look at them at your convenience as many times as you want to. So, and also don't forget, you can reach out to us if you have any questions. We do have one more question, and we're kind of getting to the end of typically, how long do parents stay after move-in day? And if staying a few days to help the child in, what's the parking option on campus?
Sure. So I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to say it depends. And so typically, after you get your student moved in, you go out and treat them to Perry Steakhouse or whatever you're going to do. And then they come back and kind of get things settled in. And then typically I've seen parents and guardians kind of hang out and just walk around the building and make sure they're good. Or sometimes you get the other end of the spectrum and they say, hey, I'm dropping you off. Here's your stuff. Go forth and be great and go Blazers, right? And so there's not it's going to run the gamut. And so it's also hard to predict what's going to work best for students and their parents and family members. But if they do want to kind of hang out afterwards or whatever, there's not much parking enforcement. I will say, obviously, not to park and reserve and handicap. So I want to make sure that I speak on behalf of our transportation friends. And so typically you'll be able to find either a place that's on the side of the street of the residence hall or in a parking structure that may be nearby. But that is an option and it's very common, but it's going to run the gamut as to how long you choose to stay. And parking is just going to be it'll be controlled chaos is what I call it with move-in day. A lot of moving pieces are happening.
And I do want to, I think I understand also as a family member, you are moving your student in, you're excited. It's hard to let them go, and you can stay as long as you want. Nobody's going to tell you it's time to go. Maybe your student will. It's like, come on, But you can stay as long as you want. And again, parking, as Dennis said, you have to be careful where you park, but there will be assigned, and usually in that email your student will receive, there'll be some information also about that. In case you're planning on staying a bit longer, I just put on our chat a couple of, if you go on our website, again, uab.edu/families, under family weekend, there's a list of hotels that not only will give you a special UAB rate for family weekend, but you can also contact them and see if you can get a special UAB rate while you stay here, if you want to stay the night or spend the night. So check out our website also, and that'll give you a bit more information. Well, this question I think we can answer. Are curtain rods provided if my student decides to hang blackout curtains?
Right, so those, the curtain rods are not provided.
All right, so I think we are getting to the end of our session. I don't see any more questions on Facebook. And again, family members, if as the days get near, and again, you're getting more questions, please don't hesitate to send us an email at families@uab.edu. And if we don't have the answer, we'll be glad to connect you with whoever has that answer. We know this is exciting times, and it's also stressful times. I said, as a family member, I remember loading the car and then not being able to fit everything in the car, and then coming here, and it all went smoothly. Now that I think back about it, and just moving in, and it's a great transition. It's a bittersweet transition, but know that we're all here to help you during this transition. And again, as we always say here at our family engagement office, throughout your academic life here at UAB. So please do not hesitate to call us. I don't see any other questions. I don't know, Dennis, if you have any last minute thoughts or anything that you would like to say before we go.
Sure. As always, we're excited to welcome our new Blazers to campus here in a few days. The main things that I would kind of say are things to drive home are continuing to check their UAB email. We are not sending anything at iloveblazers@yahoo.com. So please encourage your student to begin to get in the habit of checking their UAB email. That's where the information for move-in and other things that they're going to need to know is going to be sent to. And so if they're not checking that, they're missing out critical information because that is the official communication method that we do here on campus. Another thing is, as you're beginning for your arrival and preparations, I can't stress this enough of having the conversation with your student about the rigors of college. It's a time, there are a lot of great things are going to happen. There's also going to be some challenging things. And so making sure that you're supporting them in the decision-making process is always helpful, and letting them know that, you're there to cheer them on from start to finish. And we stand ready along with Carmen and Parent and Family Services here to help. And so just making sure that they are picking up those tools, using the tools, and asking for help. And if there's anything Student Housing and Residence Life can do, to make things a little bit easier, please outreach to us at studenthousing@uab.edu. And then lastly, information regarding move-in signups are coming to students' inboxes around August 7th. So no one has gotten any information about that. It will be a very lengthy email. So please encourage them to, as they see that exciting email, to read everything, because there's going to be things that we're going to ask that they do before they arrive. And they will have a virtual floor meeting with their RA to go over a lot of things. So again, it is a lot of information, but we want to make sure that we set them up for success.
So thank you. And so we cannot stress enough how important it is for your students to check their UAB email, read the email completely, and have, again, like Dennis said, have that conversation with your student. Yes, they're trying to, they're becoming more independent, but at this moment of transition, help them, let them know that you're there to help them during this transition. And, you want to read the email with them, because these are a lot of new information is coming their way. So again, we're a team here. And on that note, also, you said, you will be receiving a booklet in the mail called Blazer Well, which is a guide to health and well-being for your student. That's something to have those important conversations about. They're here for their academics, but also they'll have other opportunities to meet friends and, have the flexibility to go outside the residence hall. So use that guide as a conversation piece with your student, and it will be coming in the mail. Again, we will be also sending things through the Family Hub. I know we're working with housing and in the future, sending you some information from them to you as family members. So always check the Family Hub. And if anything else, look at the registration for Family Weekend. And we do have one last question before we go is, this person says they were in the meeting, well, for most of this today. Oh, the recordings. Yes. So this is my question. So the recordings are available. And so immediately after we finish today, the recording for this webinar and all the past webinars are available on our Facebook page, UAB Families. And you can go back and look at the webinars at your convenience or as many times as you want. If you also go on our website, uab.edu/families, under the tab of communication 2023 webinars, you can see all of the webinars we've already had and some that have been archived from the past that will provide you questions. And on that note, before we go, tomorrow we have 2 wonderful webinars. One has to do with providing your student those skills as they're transitioning into college and preparing your students to deal with some of the new physical, mental challenges, some of the new activities that they'll be involved in. So that's Adulting 101 at 11 a.m. You can sign in by going into the Family Hub. And also we have one that has to do with education, equity, and empowerment, from diversity to everything you need to know to help your student in that transition. So check our family website and a Family Hub, and you can check in and register for those. We have 2 more webinars next week, Career Center. It's never too early to start thinking about careers, and also the UAB Police Department, in addition to one with Eye Care Center on the 15th of August. So lots of things coming your way. Stay in touch. If you need anything, if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help you in this transition and throughout your tenure. So have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Dennis, for being here today. And thank you, families, for joining us both on Zoom and Facebook. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Bye.